Think your warehouse is running at peak efficiency? Think again. Join Luis Jimenez, president of Atlantic Racking, as he unveils the strategies top-performing warehouses are using to stay ahead. Discover how AI-driven automation and customized racking solutions are revolutionizing storage, slashing operational costs, and delivering impressive returns on investment. Luis also shares insider tips on avoiding common pitfalls and adapting to emerging trends in warehouse design and automation. This is the future of warehousing, and it's happening now.
Warehouse space is priced on a square foot basis, but we all know there's a vertical component. So you help them maximize their cubic footprint. Tell them how.
Yeah. So the idea is to come and analyze each customer's needs, what they have, what they store, how the product is being handled, and we try to optimize with the best technology that we can have on our hands to improve their performance, right? So let's say a company has today a problem that they outgrow their warehouse. They're using propane forklifts with 12, 13-foot aisles, and they need to move. And we tell them, look, let's analyze this first. Let's see if we can get you into a narrow aisle forklift, and then we can maybe improve your capacity maybe from 18 to 30%. And they'll give you an extra 2 or 3 years in your warehouse. That way you can save a lot of money, especially, let's say an example in Florida, real estate, rent is at $20, $22 a foot.
Industrial has really shot up. I call it the Amazon effect. Yeah. You're either Amazon or you want to compete with Amazon.
Yeah.
But I want to tell the audience right out of the gate, specifically what you do is you do racking and very sophisticated warehouse automation, and you blend the two. Is that right?
Correct. So we began as a company doing racking, but we go to every show that we can get to, and we've been seeing automation in every time we go to the shows. But we see today that people are actually implementing it today. They need it today because of the cost of the real estate. So sure. Now it's being implemented, and we want to be part of it. And we've been trained for the past 15 years, and we say, okay, it's today, and now we can come with real solutions, and it's helped customers be so successful. That's incredible. The ROI that they can get out of a system like that is really fast. It could be anywhere from 18 to 36 months.
The system pays for itself in 18 to 36 months.
But we're doing one right now for 28,000 pallet positions that, according to our numbers, you add up all the cost of one solution versus the other one, we came down to about 18 months on a $5 million project.
Wow. So the initial cost is $5 million, but they're making that back in 18 months.
Correct.
Wow. Okay. We're going to dive into that in a few minutes. First, I want you to give the audience an overall of what are the trends you're seeing now in 2025. And as we're recording this, President Trump just rolled out his plan for increasing tariffs. So are you seeing, and of course, we all knew this was coming for the last, since he got into office, are you seeing more onshoring by companies outside of, or doing their manufacturing outside of the U.S.? Are you seeing that coming on our shores?
Definitely. I have customers and suppliers both thinking and actually implementing solutions like that. European companies that are in the industry, material handling, actually building factories in the U.S. Also customers that export to the U.S. and also thinking we need to do something before it's too late. One thing is planning, and the other one, when you get hit with it, you're late. But anyway, at one point it needs to start happening.
So there's going to be a higher demand for warehouse space, which is only going to increase the prices until supply catches up, right? And so that will make the need for your services to optimize existing warehouses, or if they're going to even a bigger and better warehouse, to get more volume, to go vertically with that warehouse space. So can you tell us about the trends as it relates to vertical storage that's happening right now, be it vis-a-vis automation and racking?
Look that I'm seeing, like all the warehouses are going higher and higher. 10, 20 years ago, we were seeing warehouses that were 18, 20 feet high. Now they're going to 36, 40, 42 foot high. All the A-type warehouses today all have 36 and above. The equipment is, the technology is increasing, and the narrow spaces, the aisles people are going narrow aisle, maybe swing, and ultimately automation, where you can get very efficient. With the aisles don't produce any revenue. We can get down to maybe 48-inch aisles.
Wow.
Very dense.
48 inches. Wow.
Yeah, correct.
So this is how businesses can maximize their footprint by going vertically. Have you seen it's a rhetorical question, but an increase in demand for warehouse automation over the last few years?
People always wanted to do it, but they just are hesitant to just jump in it. The thing is, today, either you do it or you're left behind. So it's a must.
Right.
It is not if you do it or not. If you're not in there, you're not going to be in business for a long time. Your competitors are going to be doing this. And let's say you store a pallet that costs you, just to give you a number, $20 a month, and your competitors do it for 10.
Wow.
You're done. So
Right.
You better step up to the plate.
Right. You better make the investment in the technology so that you can remain. So it's one step back in that you have to make an investment for 3 steps forward. And that's the way of the world. It's always been, and it will always be. Now we're dealing with AI.
We represent a company called StorePass. So they do fully automation, ASRS for pallets.
Mhm.
And it's a system that can give you an extremely dense capacity in storage. You can see the product comes in, it's getting scanned, and then it's going to choose the best place. The software will choose the best place to store that pallet.
Wow.
If you have a factory, it could do.
Now, it's going to choose through AI the best place to place that pallet. Wow.
Correct.
That's cool.
Correct.
That's very cool.
So you see, pallets are put in there, and you can, when you get an order, it's going to organize the pallets in such a case that you can actually get any pallet, and it can even work where at night can pull orders for you and have them ready
For the
at
morning.
truck dock.
Yeah.
So you can have it in the morning for the orders to come out. So if you see at this moment, it's gonna like stage it in front of the trucks.
Wow.
So this is a very good solution, and it utilizes the space like in a percentage is just incredible.
Okay. Very efficiently.
It's
Now,
very efficient, correct?
so you would go in to a warehouse distribution operation, and you'll do an analysis of their current facility and their business and the flow of product, and then you'll come in with a recommendation on which system to use and how much it would cost and the return on investment and the estimated payback.
Correct. We do the whole solution, including from cost to implementing. We also do the installation with the factory. We have an alliance with the factories. They supply the product. We do the installation, and they do the commissioning, and then the communication between their company's software and our solution. Okay, so this is a company called High Robotics. This is a system that is it's focused on picking. Picking today, it's a major thing. A lot of small orders coming out very fast. And I'm going to show you this video that shows this. So we're accustomed to having a warehouse full of pallets with standard racking, and we can go with shelving and have robots actually go and pick the box and take it to the operator. We don't want the operator to go and pick the product. We want the product to come
to the operator.
To the operator.
Okay.
So we can minimize labor costs dramatically doing that. This product can be, you can enter into a solution like this, like very economically, because you can start with 1 or 2 robots, and if your company grows, you just add racking and add robots.
And how much does one of those robots cost?
Well, I wouldn't say, I couldn't say, because it's a total solution, but they can start at $28,000 to $30,000 per robot.
That sounds pretty inexpensive to me when you, the robot Yeah, that sounds very inexpensive to me. Now, these robots look, I know Amazon bought a company out of Boston that had a very similar platform. So this looks very similar to what Amazon has in their warehouses. Is that
Correct.
correct?
Yes, but there it's a robot that goes on the ground and picks up a racking, small shelving, and takes it to the operator. This can pick directly the box from the shelf, and it can go up to, I believe they go up to 28 feet,
Wow.
and it can grow very easily.
Wow.
It can grow. You just add rack and just add more robots. Let's say you have we don't have that model of renting, but let's say you have a peak season. You can add robots for the peak season, which could be a model. There's a lot of companies that have a very high peak season that they don't want to have 100 robots, but let's say you had 30 and you need another 30. I guess you could rent 30 of them and just send them back after the
A
season.
company can rent them also. That's a very good way because they can see the efficiency before they make the purchase decision. That's an excellent way. And so they would go to you, you would help them design the system, and you would implement the system for them.
I guess to identify the problem, what type of solutions we can bring, because there's many solutions out there. A company can have a lot of product in pallets, but then they need to do picking. So we would have a combination of both.
How does warehouse design impact the operational efficiency of the warehouse for the corporate tenant? Can you explain that a little bit?
You have to design the warehouse in a manner that the product is flowing at the right pace. Try to get the product at the front of the picking side. If you have products that are in inventory A, B, and C, the A, you want to have those products at the front, and you want to have the right equipment to get the orders out the door as soon as possible. You can use different systems like pallet flow or a pushback system or even a semi-automatic cart system like a shuttle. So you see, you put the cart on the front, you put the pallet, and then the cart's gonna do its work. You have a control, with a Bluetooth. This will take the cart to its position. These systems can be all the way from 10, 20, 30 pallets deep. It really depends on the product that you have. You want to have the same product in that lane.
So this is an automated shuttle. Once it gets to the right height in the racking, then it's pushing the pallet back to where it should be to maximize the density.
Correct.
All right.
And this is a very inexpensive solution, and it's called a semi-automatic solution.
I can give the audience an idea of what very inexpensive is.
I'll give you an example. And the numbers are not exact, but you could have a selective standard racking that could cost anywhere from $65 to $95 a pallet position. A driving system, which is a very dense position system, which is the same, very similar to the one I just showed you, but the operator actually goes in the racking system and picks the pallets. Those run anywhere from $110 to $130 a pallet position. A system like this could run anywhere from $180 to $200.
That's a one-time investment for the company, right?
Correct.
And then they've increased the efficiency of that warehouse operation. Right. For a long time coming. Okay.
Correct.
And what's the typical, on an investment like that, what's the typical time for that system to pay for itself, would you say?
The ROI on this project?
Yes. Yeah.
The thing is, you have to take everything into account, from the real estate.
That's true.
Cost of real estate are going to be handling this system, and the system is up, but they can run from 18 months to 36 months. A fully automated system like the one we're doing now, which is we're doing it in 18 months for 28,000 pallet position system, a $5 million project. So after 18 months, this goes to the bottom line.
So it's paid for itself, and then the savings just keep on rolling in after that. All right, super.
I'm going to show you a couple of projects that we've done. We know are the only company in the U.S. today that actually stocks hot dip galvanized racking. And this is one of our examples.
And what is the advantage of the hot dip galvanized racking? Can you explain that to the audience?
The hot dip galvanized is actually designed to be outdoors.
Right. It won't rust.
Everything rusts, but it's going to take a much longer time. I couldn't say if it's double, triple, but it's going to outlast any other solution out there. Like anything that has to do with outdoors, everyone goes to hot dip. Okay, so real estate, right now, anywhere from $200 to $300 a foot. If you can increase it, double, even triple your real estate, you do it with a mezzanine, and that's going to cost you, 28 to 35, $38 a foot.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
that's an excellent solution also.
Yeah, sure. If you have the ceiling height, sure.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, I've seen warehouses cost more, like, even, believe it or not, $400 a square foot. It's
That's
amazing.
crazy.
It's crazy, right? When I started in the industry many, many moons ago, office was much more expensive than warehouse. It has, in some markets, it's absolutely flipped. Warehouse is worth more per square foot than office. What should audiences look for in racking and storage systems first?
The first thing that someone that's looking for a solution, I would pick the vendor first. Is that the company you're going to partner with, are they going to deliver on what they say they're going to deliver? Do they have the know-how? Do they have experience? Have they delivered for other customers? That is the most important for me. Anyone can supply racking, but is the company have the experience to deliver on what they say? And problems happen doing business.
So you said number one is the company. Tell us a little bit more about the actual things they should look for in the actual racking and storage systems. What are the most trending type of things in racking right now? Is it, I guess it's automation, right?
No, but racking is going to be also, the racking is also involved in the automation. So it's racking and then you automate how you retrieve and put the product in. And those are the cranes and software. But the racking is actually basically the same. They just have a little bit more, they have the carts and the rails. But what are your needs? If you're a small company and you have 5,000 square foot warehouse, you want to see how you can maximize your warehouse. If you have to be very selective on the products that you're going to pick, you want a selective racking. If you have a lot of the same SKU, very high volume, you could go either for a driving system or a pushback or a pallet flow system. That is something that the supplier should recommend, and that will make the difference how successful you are in managing that space. So this is a pushback system. The advantage of this system is that you can get a lot of product in depth up to 7 pallets deep. And the only thing about this is that the product that you have in that same lane has to be the same product or should be the same product, because you don't want to be getting to the 5th pallet and having to move the other 3 in the front. But it gives you a lot of density. You have, in this occasion, there's a 4 deep system and you only have 1 aisle. If you do selective, you only access 1 pallet. This is the advantage of the system.
Okay.
You push the other pallet and you can go up to 7 deep.
Impressive. Okay. Let me throw another question at you. What would you say, with your vast experience in the business, what are the mistakes that corporate clients make when it comes to racking and storage and automation? What mistakes have you seen them make that they should avoid?
The other mistake is not taking advantage of all the height. If you have a warehouse that is 40 foot high and you have 20 foot uprights racking, you're losing half of your warehouse.
That's true.
You're paying more. Your competitor is getting much more out of that real estate.
For the real estate dollar. There's also some other factors. As we just wrote a book on called Space That Works, and it's all about industrial space. And we talk about a few key components of a warehouse that a lot of people just don't think about. But one of them is flooring, right? And you have to have a sufficient amount of rebarbed concrete to support the weight. That's factor number one. And we have a table in the book that, for the amount of the PSI, the pounds per square inch, how much concrete density you need. The other factor now is the smoothness, the quality of that concrete. If you're going very high with your racking, certainly above 20 feet, but 30 feet, 40 feet, and you have imperfections in that flooring, you wouldn't think that necessarily, but flooring can tie into the racking. Yeah, obviously you want it to be even, or you're gonna, the taller you go, the more you have a potential problem. Can you talk about those type of mistakes? Like when people are inspecting different warehouses, what should they be looking for when they're contemplating, yes, they're going to go for racking, they're going to go for automation. But before that, there's an infrastructure that needs to be in that warehouse to support that high density. Can you talk about that, Luis?
Yes, correct. So definitely the level of the floor, it's a must. You want a level floor. There's way to correct that, but we can trim to level up a system. But the wear on a forklift is much more if you have an uneven or a rough floor. So you definitely want to have an even floor. In automation, it's even more critical. It's very critical because the tolerances that you need to go, let's say in a very, it's called a small box application for picking, it's called a mini load. The tolerances could be in 100 or 200 feet, just 1 or 2 millimeters off, and the system would not work.
1 or 2 millimeters in 100 feet.
Or 200.
Still.
Yeah. It's even more critical.
Wow.
So you have to have the right equipment to install that. You have to have the right company that has the knowledge and implement those systems. So choosing another mistake I see is choosing a warehouse that doesn't have the correct height to get the trucks at the right level for you to load. So you get a warehouse and the trucks are 48 inches. The warehouse is 30. The dock is 36. It happens like a lot. It's crazy. That those mistakes happen today.
Yeah. Now, what about the pounds per square inch that has to be supported as you're going up higher? Of course, it depends what you're storing. How do you engineer for that? I know you're an engineer by training.
I'll give you a couple examples. So first of all, it's called a preliminary engineering. So we input all the data that the customer gives us. So we ask for the slab, the thickness of the slab, the PSI, either 3,000, 4,000 PSI of the concrete. And based on how many levels, what's the capacity, what's the maximum weight, and then we input all this into a software, and we get a preliminary design of the rack that we need to implement. Because you can have an upright, let's say the vertical, which is the upright, they look exactly the same, but some have, let's say, a 14 gauge, which is 2 millimeters, or it's a 12 gauge. There's thicker material, but visually you just can't see it. But they do have more capacity. So you need to choose the proper equipment based on each situation. The other scenario is that, let's say you're in California and the seismic zone is the worst anywhere in the world. So we have to design for California. We actually design for a specific zip code every time we design. So,
yeah. Wow. Think about that, right? They have an earthquake comes through and you got racks up to 40 feet. That's interesting.
In the same application, a system can cost, let's say, $10,000, and California can cost $15,000. They do exactly the same thing, but the other one's designed to take those loads that will hopefully prevent from a collapse.
God forbid.
One other mistake that I do see a lot, which is when customers are going to implement racks in a cooler, that's one of the biggest mistakes they make. They have the possibility of designing the rack and then the cooler around it. Most of the people give us the cooler, and then you find out that if you could have given me an extra 4 inches, I could have added one more row of rack. Okay. Which is in a cooler environment, storage pallets, it's extremely expensive. So any inch or any extra pallet you can get in there is very valuable. So that is one consideration for the food industry that can take into account before designing a cooler. Design the equipment first.
Okay. That's a very good point. Very good point. Are there specific racking or storage and or automation systems that you think work best for certain industries?
Definitely. So let's say,
I know that's a big question. You could go down industry by industry, but just give us a few examples.
Like the produce industry, I don't know why, but they beat up those racks like so much. It's crazy. Maybe it's because of the conditions they work on. So we definitely encourage customers to go with structural material. Like racking is either made from steel that is roll formed into a post, or comes from the mill directly as a piece of metal, a solid piece of metal. That's called structure. So it takes a beating, you hit it, and it takes a big blow before you can bend it. So that's one solution. The other one is hot dip galvanized, which would stand rain and sun for a longer time.
Okay.
Then in coolers, you also use a lot of hot galvanized because of the rust, the humidity. With those levels, you can extend the life of that equipment. If you do automation in a cooler, by that, considering the expensive nature of the industry that it's so expensive to store there, if you maximize that space, you're going to be very competitive.
That's right, because you're paying a lot to refrigerate that space.
Exactly.
And you want to maximize every square inch of it.
In a freezer application, I think everyone needs to go to automation. We do installations in freezers, and our teams need to go out of the freezer every 20 minutes. So
I would imagine you don't want to get frozen.
Just the installation, imagine an operation without people being in that condition. I think that is the future, or whoever's doing it right now has a big advantage.
That rolls right into my next question, which was, what is the future of automation in warehouses? And how do you future-proof your warehouse? You're going into a 10-year lease now. What would be your recommendations to the audience? How can they best future-proof their warehouse?
In the industry today, is that the solutions are being implemented, not just talked about. Everyone gets in those meetings and talk about it, automation. Now I see things happening. That is what's happening today. With respect to the longevity of a system, remember, all those systems can be dismantled and moved to another warehouse. Those solutions are not a big monster that you put it in there, you just have to live it there. You can take it. It's expensive to implement, but obviously, if you're going to invest in an expensive solution like that, you better have a long lease or own your property
to amortize it. Okay. Yeah, sure. And a lot of companies do longer term leases. There's pluses and minuses to both. As someone that my primary business is corporate tenant representation, which means we're working only for the tenant and helping them get the absolute best terms and conditions in the right location, the right warehouse. It's not getting the lowest price, it's getting the best warehouse at the lowest price. And we have to think about not just base rent. There's so many factors, and that's what you're saying. You have to think in advance. There's so many factors, and one of the factors that we think about is lease term, right? And a lot goes into that. What is their CapEx investment going to be? If it's going to be substantial, then they're going to want a longer lease term. One of the key reasons is they probably don't want to move. There's a huge cost of moving, especially if you're putting in automation to remove that and put it in a different location. I would imagine highly costly. Would I be right in that?
Definitely, it's very, obviously, it's a big investment. You want to be there for a while.
You want to be there for a while. So the more automation, the more CapEx, in all probability, the longer the lease. So you have a longer time to amortize that investment, not 5 years, more like 10, maybe even 15 years. Now, of course, what you're giving up for that is the flexibility of having the opportunity to move to a different location. But that flexibility comes at a cost, and it comes at a real financial cost. So more times than not, we find that a 10-year lease can be very attractive, or even longer, when companies are making a substantial investment, and that investment is meant to give a substantial return, so that, as you were talking about with the racking systems and the pallet systems, that they're paying for themselves in 18 months or 3 years. You don't want to move then in the 5th year, because you're going to destroy all that savings, because you just got to rip all that out and put it in someplace else, and it's just not worth it. What are the cost implications of implementing an automation system in a warehouse?
Well, the problem here is the initial cost. Obviously, if you do an investment, make an investment on an automated system, it's an upfront cost that's high. You can always lease that equipment, which we do offer that through several banks. The other thing that you can take advantage also is like tax incentives. If you invest with, I don't know, the 179 tax bracket, you can deduct up to $2 million. You can depreciate it the first year. Those are things to consider. But that's the initial cost is basically what keeps most of the customers
initial investment. I was going to say, it's
They wanna-
interesting you mentioned that going into the tax implications, because the current administration, of course, what they want to do is bring back the 100% depreciation. That will be huge for companies wanting to invest in their CapEx. They'll be able to write it off 100% that first year.
We're focused on implementing solutions at a great prices, hurting our margins, just to show customers that it's possible. Because we can talk about it, but if you don't see it and touch it, people are not going to do it. So we're pushing right now to get solutions out there so customers can see them. Talk to our customers and say, okay, does it work? We take it to the customer and they can talk directly to them.
Right.
We don't want to talk. We let the customer talk.
Let your clients, let them meet with your clients.
Exactly. The more you find out there, this is going to be coming to become mainstream. And it's going to take some time, but I feel that this is months or years, a couple of years, that you're going to see this like everywhere.
Most warehouses will be automated.
Yes.
All right. Very good.
Even
now,
small.
I want to get to it. I want to take you down a different path just a little bit. With all your experience, I want to ask you, are there any safety considerations that tenants should keep in mind when designing their warehouse layout, and add to that when designing their racking, storage, and automation?
In the safety aspect in warehouse operations, there's not a lot of consideration in a lot of the customer base that we find out there. Let's say anywhere from the apparel, safety apparel, from the markings in a warehouse, from the dock. A lot of accidents at warehouse happen in the dock area.
Yes.
Forklift just dropping out because the truck left and they were not looking, and they leave. The forklift is coming across and the truck just leaves. We have solutions like a restraint that if there's not anyone out there that releases that truck in order for them to leave, the truck can't go anywhere. I don't know why why it's so low, the amount of restraints out there. That is mind-blowing.
Are there new regulations, maybe OSHA, or there are other agencies that are proposing regulations that?
OSHA has written a lot. OSHA has written a lot of. They don't. I don't know if it's regulations or recommendations. No one enforces that, so it doesn't happen. When does a customer call you to see if you can implement a safety fact situation? Something happened.
Right after the fact,
and they call you. They don't call you before.
Hopefully, some do. Hopefully,
the percentage is very low.
They don't want. Most importantly, they don't want to see their employees hurt.
Exactly,
and that should always come first. But then there's also the financial liability. If someone gets hurt, that's going to be a lawsuit. At the very least, it's going to increase their insurance, or maybe worse.
Now that you mention it, a lot of the racks out there are not designed properly. Meaning, so let's say.
That's what I was looking for.
An example. I went to see a customer last week, and they designed. What they did is they sent me a quote and said, "We need to improve this quote." I said, "Send me the design. I'll take a look." No, they told me, "No, this is what we want you to do. Get us a price, and then we'll talk." Well, we got the price, and then we get to see the customer. Everyone was designing for a system that was incorrectly designed. So. The pallets, I told them, hey, bring down that pallet. How much does it weigh? It weighs 1,000 pounds. Go weigh it, please. 2,700 pounds.
Wow.
So I thought, look, you decided.
And now that's stacked one on top of the other, and maybe you got 7 across.
Yeah, it's crazy. And the beams were bowing. I said, there's something wrong here. We need to design this properly. That's a big mistake. So let's say a customer buys an upright, which the capacity is 24,000 pounds. Okay, that's the capacity of it. But when they give you a capacity, the capacity is given to you at 48 inches at the first beam level. But if you increase that to 80 inches, the capacity drops maybe to 14,000 pounds. So if you still put the amount of pallets that you designed for 24,000, you're overloading that rack.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I imagine then you could be looking at a catastrophic failure of the racking.
It really happened. Maybe 2 weeks ago, I got a customer from Jamaica. We have a partners that sell our product down over there. He said, I need an opinion what happened here. This company bought this product from Asia. It fell. And I told them, give me more specs. So they put the first level at, I believe, it was 144 inches. I said, that's the reason it fell. The capacity of that upright was about 8,000 pounds. And I believe they had 20,000 pounds on the rack.
Wow.
That's the reason it fell.
Hopefully someone didn't get hurt.
A lot of the accidents is just racks are not labeled. The capacity
There's a tip.
labels are not there.
They're not labeled.
If there's a hole in there, just put the pallet in there. Capacity labels is something that is so inexpensive. You know how much capacity you can.
It's labeled. And the other thing that's relatively very inexpensive is training the people that are actually utilizing the systems, what they can and can't do, and the repercussions, the physical safety repercussions if someone is not doing the right thing. Those are very good tips. Simple labeling. How much can that cost? Nothing. Inspection
at least every month or every 2 months. Just look at the racks. If it's a dent, or is it how big of a dent is it? Do we need to change that up? We need to change the beam. Just a visual inspection.
Do you offer that as a service?
Yeah, we do that as a service. We come in, we do a full report, we do a layout, and we tell them, look, in this row, this section, you have this situation, and we write recommendations.
While we're at it, what are the best practices for maintaining your racking and storage and automation systems?
Each system is different. Like the standard selective visual inspection is key. Like on a monthly basis, you should have at least a company come out every year, every 2 years to do maybe a report and see if something needs to be changed. But let's say on automation, you want the system to be clean from debris, the carts don't get stuck. But those systems are fully enclosed. In respect to safety, there's not much out there because it's fully enclosed. And if you go in the system, let's say a system has 5 levels, you can go up to the 4th level, open the door, and that level shuts down. The other 3 will keep on going. The other 4 will keep on going. The safety factor there is that it's basically very safe under the system.
I want to now bring it back to your company, and I'd like you to explain what specifically sets Atlantic Rack apart from your competitors.
We built a team that is growing.
How many people are on your team?
We're 38, and we have 11 in our sales team. The rest is all support. And we're obsessed with the customer.
Yeah, you're obsessed with the customer, and you obviously are obsessed with technology. You are on the cutting edge of technology. The systems you've shown me, they're first class, cutting edge. What advice would you give businesses looking to upgrade their warehouse storage and automation systems over the next 3 to 5 years?
First of all, choose the right partner. Write our number down. Write our information in case you
call Atlantic Rack.
Choose the right application for you.
Don't just do this on your own. Obviously, right?
Yeah, but
you need the right partner. You need a Luis. You need Luis specifically.
Our focus is that you guys are profitable and grow. You buy your next warehouse. We did a Bell helicopter plant. We get called. We've done Boeing in Austin. They have in Jacksonville an operation. Next week, we're going to California. We have a project there.
Okay. So you go all over.
We go all over. We go to any country. We're doing an automation system in Colombia today, 28,000 pallet positions. For the same customer, we're doing one in Mexico City, 8,000 pallet positions. We did one in Costa Rica, in the middle of the jungle. It's a crazy application. They do larvae. They process larvae to feed chicken. And it's right in the middle of the jungle. And it's fully automated. Wow. It's beautiful.
What do they do with the larvae?
They feed chicken. It's protein. It's called a black soldier fly. Okay. So they feed them with banana peel. And Costa Rica, in that place, they have the largest banana pudding plant in the world. So the peel is thrown away, and it's a problem for them. But this company built very close to them, and they pick up that peel and feed the black soldier fly, and they harvest it, and they cook the larva, and then they feed it to chicken. And it's very successful. It's sold in the U.S.
What was a problem, and they made it into something that was useful and profitable.
And I love to participate in those solutions because there's so much out there to learn. I love this industry.
I can tell you have a passion for it, for entrepreneurship, and for people. God bless. God bless.
Thank you.
All right, Luis, we're at the end of our time. I thank you so much. You've been a terrific person to interview. I've learned so much. Bye for now, and we look forward to talking to you again soon.
It's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.